Good morning, everyone. For all those who are already scratching their heads, unsure on who I am, you can relax. I'm going to clarify right off the bat which one of the three blind mice is standing before you today. And yes, guys, there's three of us. Although we all wear glasses and they tend to copy my hairstyles, we are not related. And as much as I appreciate the assumption that my fashion sense is remotely as good as theirs, my name is not Nomonde Ngcobo. Nomonde is a member of staff at St. Martin's. She is your youth director. Nor am I Miranda Dlamini, who some of you might not be too familiar with, but she drives the fancy blue Mini Cooper and works for Steve Pearson. My name is Boniwe Majwede. And to help you differentiate between the girls and I, here are some things to know about me. Contrary to my petite appearance, I'm the oldest of us three, 27 years young to be exact. Home is in Richards Bay, which is about 2 hours away from here. I grew up in a faith mission apostolic church. I now live in Durban North, just up the road from St. Martin's. Currently, I work for a company in Pinetown where I do sales and marketing. I'm pretty sure the only reason why I got the job was so the poor national sales manager could have someone to rattle off an Afrikaans with. And because that's not enough, I'm also a part-time LLB student. I attend the 6 p.m. service at St. Martin's and have been doing so for the past 7 years. I serve on the worship team, the youth team, and I'm still in the learning stages on the sound desk when Henk allows. But the most recent ministry, and the one that wouldn't allow me to get out of standing here today, is that I was elected as... Oh, stressful. Okay, cool. But the most recent ministry, and the one that wouldn't allow me to get out of standing here today, is that I was elected as one of your alternate church wardens alongside Brad Toreen for this year. When Mandy asked me to get I immediately realized I didn't read the T's and C's that came with this position. Not that this is mandatory or anything, but I didn't want to be the only one to say no out of all the boys. That being said, though, I gave my life to the Lord when I was in grade 8, but only got baptized in 2011. I'm pretty sure Mandy didn't know that this would be my first time giving a personal testimony in any church. In the church I grew up in, we didn't get asked to do stuff like this, and to be honest with you, I was perfectly happy with that, because contrary to the fact that I used to be a professional dancer and performer, I really don't enjoy being the center of attention. Cool. Now that that's out the way, my life song is a quote I read about 4 years ago. It really changed my perspective on the way that I see God in my relationship with Him. The quote reads, "Everything about the future is uncertain, but one thing is for sure. God has arranged all our tomorrows. We just have to trust Him today." I've always had an uncomfortable relationship with leadership. Oftentimes, it was somebody else thrusting me into a leadership role, and I would only volunteer or say yes simply because no one else was stepping forward. There's one specific event in my life that I want to share with you today that really affected how I saw myself as a leader and magnified how I was not interested in being one. In 2014, I was the mother hen of our all-girls commune just up the road. I was in charge of looking after everyone and ensuring that the house ran smoothly. I was the oldest at the time before Knowles came to stay with us. I felt quite responsible for the girls, and I really wanted to do a good job of making sure our house was a home away from home for them. On the 22nd of August in 2014, a friend had extra tickets to the rugby and invited me to go. Nana, one of the girls in the house, had just turned 19. And because everyone was away, we couldn't celebrate like we traditionally would as a house. Nana was a real tomboy, and I knew she would enjoy the rugby, so I thought it would be a good alternative. So the 4 of us girls went out and celebrated her birthday. Without getting into too much detail, looking back, there are 3 main choices that I made and blame myself for from that night. The first was, we were traveling in 2 different cars in our birthday adventures, and I insisted that Knowles and I go in the same car because we were older, and leaving Nana and Jody in the other car. I blame myself for not keeping everybody together. After the rugby, we continued our birthday adventures around Durban, but at about 2 a.m. for some reason, we decided to go up to Belito to watch the sunrise to end off our adventures. The second thing was, I asked the girls, do you girls want to go home? And Nana was the first to say no. I blame myself for not trusting my gut and telling the boys to take us girls home. The third thing, the car I was in was speeding, and almost instinctively I bent over to pray, and I said, God, please protect this car. I blame myself for not keeping or for not covering us all and only thinking of myself in that moment. We had just passed the Tongaat toll gate as I watched their car bash 3 times into the truck in front of us. That image is ingrained in my memory forever. Okay. After making the worst phone call of my life, fear filled my heart as we waited for her family to arrive at the hospital. I was ready for any and all ridicule to come my way, ready to take responsibility for anything that they needed to attach blame to. But they didn't. Nana's mom walked into that hospital and hugged each and every one of us, and with deep concern, inquired on the medical status of the driver in her daughter's car. Nana's mom asked what happened and said we must all relax. She was just really glad that we were all safe and that she was trusting God to heal her daughter and the driver of the car her daughter was in, who at the time was in ICU at a different hospital. Her only child was taken off life support that night, and we lost one of our girls in the home. Every time I think of Nana's mom, or every time she hugged me or spoke to me, I felt God's spirit in the most unimaginable way. The way she trusted God's plan wholeheartedly in that situation. She displayed a strength and peace that cannot be explained rationally. And I kept thinking when I looked at her, was God, is that you? It took me a long time to understand that there was nothing I could have done differently that would have altered the course of the events that completely shattered our young lives. To this day, I struggle with leadership. I struggle with taking leadership, as parts of me for a long time felt I disappointed those girls, and more importantly, disappointed myself as well as God. So for a very long time, I would aggressively protect my hidden position whenever I was pushed forward, because I now knew that sometimes as a leader, you have no control over what's going to happen or what God's will is for someone else's life. And no matter what you think you could have done differently, He is the one in ultimate and complete control of our lives and the course it's going to take. Sorry. I've learned that God is in every situation, even when we distance ourselves from Him, which is what I had done. He was there showing us love, compassion, and comfort, in my case, through the most unlikely of people. I learned that I don't need to punish myself to receive God's love, and I don't need to be Jesus on the cross, because Jesus has already died on the cross for me. I learned that being a leader doesn't mean I need to take on the blame for everything that goes wrong, and that my opinion of myself, at my absolute worst, is not necessarily God's opinion of me. So now, in fearful moments like this, when I'm called to leadership, I try to remember the trust that Nana's mom placed in God at her worst, and remind myself that God is not done with me yet. The verse that was read today, which I felt really spoke to me in terms of this experience, was Isaiah chapter 54, verse 10, which reads, "Though the mountains be shaken and the hills be removed, yet my unfailing love for you will not be shaken, nor my covenant of peace be removed, says the Lord, who has compassion on you." I've found peace in knowing that He has arranged all my tomorrows, and I hope each of you find the courage to trust Him today and simply step out in faith. Thank you.